Hello, everyone. Welcome to TriggerSmart. Just getting set up here with Matt from AudioFreq, and we're going to go through audio analysis and the forensics around the Charlie Kirk case. If you can, in the comments, let me know you can hear me okay. Hey, Matt, welcome on.
Hey there, you all right?
We are good.
You're good.
Just give people a few minutes here to move on in.
That's okay, yeah.
Sounds like they can hear us pretty well. Miss Gutierrez, John Murphy. Hey, Mr. Turpin. You ride horses? Q and Fees in the house. Hey, Pete, how's it going? Pete provided an updated 3D model that has the 50-meter radius. And actually, I could show that here really quick while we're waiting for people to come in. See if I can get this set up over here. All right. So for people just coming in, I am looking at, we had this model that we looked at the other day that was made by Q or Pete. He's a QNF in the chat, QNFEE. And we had a question. A lot of people were saying they thought the shot was maybe within about 50 meters. So what we did is he created this halo to kind of mark out the areas that theoretically would be within that 50 meters on this map or on this model. So it's very interesting. You'll notice that the official FBI shot is not there. So, so it's okay. So there's an updated model again. All right. Thanks, Pete. I'll see if I can pull that in while we're talking about the audio analysis. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So the purpose of today's show is really to focus on the audio analysis. So we've looked at the 3D model and we've kind of talked about the various different angles that the shots could or could not have come from. And in doing that, there are some other questions that came up based on the audio. So some people were saying that maybe the shot, like for example, Dr. Chris Martinson was saying that he thought the shot maybe came from another building. Now, interestingly enough, the place that he says he thought the shot came from was actually within that 50-meter halo that I just showed. So we will have Matt from AudioFreq. I'm sure a lot of you have seen him. If you haven't, make sure you go check out his channel. It's AudioFreq's on YouTube, and I believe you're also on X.
I am, yep.
All right, so make sure you go over there, check him out. And what we're trying to really do, in addition to showing his work, he's put a lot of work into this, and he does it for free. But we would like to get him monetized. So on YouTube, he has under 1,000 subscribers, and the way it works is until you get 1,000 subscribers, you don't get paid for ads or anything. So I'd really like to get some people to go over there, subscribe to his channel, and get him up over that 1,000. All right, let's see what we got over here. Saduka Simples. I will say again, because this man likes to investigate, the shot came from below Charlie. Was a cushion chair. Who rigged it? Who put it? Now, that's an interesting idea. I know some people have mentioned something like that too, and they were manipulating the chair and stuff afterwards. I mean, that would be a whole different investigation all by itself if the chair or something below him had something to do with it. All right, Matt. So what we'll do is we'll start with the questions. So the audience had some pretty common questions that kept recurring, and I want to make sure we cover those first, and then we can dive into your analysis. So first thing was defining crack from the bullet, boom from the explosion, or the crack to thump. So
Crack
we
to
know a
thump.
lot of people have been using crack to thump in their audio analysis, including the other Matt, who was on a few other shows. He used a different type of analysis, and his also didn't account for the stereo field, I don't believe. So if you want to kind of comment on that, crack to thump, what are your thoughts?
Well, crack to thump is essentially when you fire the bullet is moving faster than the speed of sound. So you can imagine the sound is going to travel behind the actual projectile. So if it's moving twice the speed of sound, it's going to take twice as long for the sound to arrive after the bullet. And because the projectile is breaking the sound barrier, it creates a shockwave, and that shockwave travels from the bullet outwards on its trajectory. And you only hear the crack if you're standing in the right place to receive it. Essentially, when the bullet passes the perpendicular, sort of the 90-degree angle past you, and you'll hear the crack. But if you move out 10, 20 meters from there, then the thump and the crack, they separate even further. The point I was making originally was, if you don't know the trajectory, because let's face it, that's why we're all here, how can you measure out to the microphone to determine the distance between the crack and the thump along the trajectory line? Because as you get further down, it gets further apart.
Because you don't know where you're measuring from.
Yeah, you can't. If you don't know where to stick the ruler, you don't know the line to stick the ruler on to measure one of the variables that you need to work out crack to thump. And that's basically where I got to with the crack to thump, because for my test, for what I'm doing, it's kind of immune, because I'm working with reflections. I'm not really working with ballistics. I mean, crack the thump was new to me up until a couple of weeks ago. But the more I looked into it, the more shaky it got, and I think that's why they don't really use it in courtrooms unless you have all the variables to put into it. And if you're guessing and multiplying a guess, then it's still a guess.
Now, I know one thing a lot of people might not know about you is you actually have a degree in audio engineering. Yeah. So you're actually a career professional in it.
Yes, yeah, you could say so, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas I know a lot of the other people, not taking anything away from them, it's just that they don't do it professionally. They just kind of jumped into it and had an interest in it. But you do it every day.
I think because they're coming at it from a gunner's perspective, it's slightly different. Whereas I'm coming at it from an acoustics perspective. Now, it doesn't matter to me that whether it's a bullet or whether it's a tea towel or a whip, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just the source of the part that's breaking the sound barrier. Now, the bullet itself is in the barrel. It's breaking the sound barrier, and once it comes out into the air, like outside of the containment field of the barrel, that's when it produces the shockwave all the way down. It's a continuous event. It's not one singular thing that happens at the muzzle. So if you don't know where you're measuring from, you can't work out crack to bang. It just essentially, it backs up your narrative to an extent. You can make an assumption and you can make it fit.
So basically, it's a good starting point.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'm not discrediting crack to bang at all, because it can be used if you know where all the inputs are. But geometrically, you've got to think, if you're far enough away, the bullet's only going to keep slowing down with the air resistance, and then the sound's going to overtake it, and you're going to end up with a thump and then a crack. So unless you really know where you're standing in that line of trajectory, then you can't measure it.
All right. So now a lot of people, this was a question I had too, and this is this kind of goes back to similar to like Jason Goodman when he was talking about the video processing and the artifacts and things that you see in the actual video. In this case, we're talking about the audio. So some people were saying, is it possible that the phone limiter or something inside the internal processing of these cell phones?
Very good question.
Yeah, could that have colored the audio somehow and changed things?
Yeah, so what actually happens is most newer phones these days, they don't just have a straight limiter. You'll probably have a chain, a multi-band chain that happens. So you'd start with AEGC, which is automatic gain control. And if a loud event happens, then it will turn down the gain for the rest of the recording for X amount of time. Then that will run into a fast limiter, but the limiter itself will likely have a 3 millisecond look ahead parameter. And what that means is it's scanning the signal coming in 3 milliseconds ahead of time before it limits. And it's already addressing with the limiter ceiling. And all a limiter is it puts a volume ceiling, and the audio gets chopped off. It won't pass that ceiling. So if it's looking ahead, what happens to the waveform is it actually shifts it very slightly by a few milliseconds. So the representation of the peak could look different, but the audio will still be exactly where it was. It doesn't change the timing as such. It might change frequency content for sure, but it's not going to change the timing because it's applied equally from the start of the recording all the way across. I mean, these days it's digital technology. It's not like we're working on old DAT tape machines, you know, back in the day. But yeah, no, we're not working off tape machines, so we've got a pretty constant 0 and 1, you know, speed binary. It's once it's applied to everything equally. So, and after that, you might find that there's some sort of multi-band, I don't know, sort of like noise gate, shall we say, to sort of emphasize vocals, and you will hear it because the bass will always take longer to recover if that's the case with that phone.
So basically, I guess to sum it up, you're saying that yes, it does process the signal, but it's not going to affect the
It's not going to.
position of anything.
It will affect it. There's another thing you have to be aware of as well. Is like back in the day when we had the old videotape recorders that you had to put a VHS in. Going back a few years maybe, but like you'd press record and the tape would start. It would record the audio and the video at the same time. But with digital technology, you might find that the actual audio might start 20 milliseconds, depending on the make and model of the phone. That's why it's important that we know what phone we're using, what's recording, because then we can make adjustments for that. And we could say that X phone would have a 21 millisecond delay before the video started recording, and the sound might start first. So that's another thing to consider as well. So, you know, while the 3 milliseconds, you know, it's not really going to change much in your measurements anyway. 21 milliseconds might, but it's a case of whether it matters to the test that you're doing, if you're, you know, syncing up the video or not.
So we have a question here. I guess it's O.T112 says, hello, everyone. Audio freaks. So, Matt, how can we be hearing an echo at the same time as the hit? It must be very close. Also, pet Mr. Dinkles for us.
Somebody saw the videos there with Mr. Dinkles. He's over there snoring his head off. He will love that. Yeah, he loves the fuss. Yeah, echoes. Why would you hear them? It's a really good question, actually, and it's something we're going to take a little look at in a bit. But essentially, you have different types of echoes. You have early reflections, you have late reflections, and then you have everything in between. So, generally speaking, the early reflections will come very quickly. You know, so if you fired, I don't know, if I clap my hands here, you can imagine the sound's going to bounce off the wall behind me, then come back past me, and it's going to hit the microphone the other end of the room at a slightly different time. So you've got different types of reflections, and again, there's multiple surfaces. If you're standing around loads of ledges, then you're going to get lots of early reflections.
So we have someone that said, this is an assassination. Is it possible for others involved to manipulate the audio provided for the public?
That's a good question. Yes, they can manipulate it, but yes, I can test it and find out whether it's manipulated.
Okay, so you can weed those out.
Yeah. Test the phase correlation, all the stuff like that, and it will shine up like a new penny. Even if you switch the left and the right channel around, it wouldn't matter because I could just sum it to mono anyway and work with the mono signal. So,
all right. So now this is a good question. This is another of the original set from the audience. Do you need to sync various sources? Like, do you need to sync all of them to, like, the lips, for example?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're testing. I mean, if you were testing, say, for the impact, then sure, you're going to need to be able to visually see it. For the way I work is just off of one recording, and I work from the last reflection back to the first, and all of that falls outside of that scope because I'm working with one recording. And again, that the video delay to the sound delay, obviously the 21 whatever milliseconds it might be before the video actually starts with the audio, is going to throw that off a little bit as well. So you just really need to know the make and model of the phone that's being used to be able to work out the difference. But to sync it, only if you need it visually.
Okay, so what about the sound that was caught? This is a really interesting one. This is actually, I think I asked this question almost immediately when everyone was saying I've heard they heard one shot, two shot, 10 shots, whatever. Right? Was what's the chance that the sound was caught by the mic and projected out of the loudspeakers?
Definitely happened. I've got it recorded. Yeah, I could show you actually.
So it did happen. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see if I can show these tips again. Share the screen. Can you see the screen?
Can now? Go for it.
If we just, cause what I'm basically doing is I'm breaking down. So this is the original sound. Oh, don't need that. This is the original sound. I'm using an EQ, simple EQ, and I'm breaking it down into different frequency bands, all the way from 18 kilohertz all the way down to 19 kilohertz on this one. And what this does is it separates it separates what could be a reflection and what could be an instant sound that was like a sound source, shall we say. So if we go through some of these, we might be able to find it. Probably should have had it already up, to be fair. Not this one. And you can literally just see in the audio, this is it, somewhere around there. You can see in the audio that there is a double tap, if I can find the right one. Sorry, I should have been a little bit more organised here. I didn't think I'd be actually showing it, but not that one, this one. Aha, you see that little, so you've got one there, and then you've got one slightly after it. It's really quick. The actual audio on the microphone only takes like 10 milliseconds to oh, where have I gone? It only takes like 10 milliseconds to re-amplify. You'll get one knock, then it will come out the speakers 10 milliseconds later, and then reproduce. So it's not going to overwrite or couple with the sound. It's not going to sort of sit flush. It will always be slightly askew, and you will see that in the audio.
Someone is asking, you might have to specify the Kiki, but you're saying, what is this? Are you talking about what were all the audio files that we were looking at? Or are you talking about what program it was?
Oh, it's Ableton. Yeah, that's just all the audio stems. I don't know if that's a good enough explanation, is it?
Yeah, I think it's all the audio sources from all the different cameras and stuff that he's looking into.
Yeah.
All right, and then we just had one more question before you get into your presentation. The other common question was, with a 30-06 being subsonic, is there any chance that some audio sources would not have picked up the supersonic clap or the?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
So the mark cone, the part where the speed of sound is broken, that's directional. You're not going to hear it everywhere. I've got that in recordings actually, which I haven't got to on my videos yet because I'm still working back through the reflections. But yeah, the mark cone is only relevant for if you're standing in its path. Because if you're standing behind the target, for example, the speed of sound is stopped as soon as the bullet's impacted. So the conditions to create the breaking of the speed of sound, they're over. They've ended. You know, so you can't hear it everywhere, so to speak.
You did mention at one point, and I think I don't remember if this was on Jason's channel or not, but you said obviously you can't fake the sonic crack or the whip sound, and you said that you saw it pretty consistently through most of the audio, right? So regardless of whatever may have actually killed him, it's known that there was some sort of rifle round or something that was supersonic.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely something that broke the speed barrier. And that's because I broke it down into individual frequency bands. You can track it from the treble all the way down to the really low lows. And if it was a crack by definition is a high pitched clap, isn't it? It's not. It should realistically from 800 hertz to 1 kilohertz, it should exist beyond there. But if we're hearing it at 40 and 19 hertz, then it's broke the speed barrier. It had to. Or it's the gunshot, and obviously the bullet coming out of the gun is breaking the speed barrier. And however you want to chalk it up, realistically. But
So can we do a quick test in the audience? Someone said that the audio is bad for Matt. Can anyone else tell me if it's clear or not?
oh, sorry.
Well, I don't know if it is. I'm just trying to figure out if anyone else hears. Everyone, you can hear him just fine. Okay. Yeah, from Roam Info, you might need to refresh. Or might be your internet speed. All right. So that's all the questions we have. Now, is there anything you want to present? And then, like I was kind of teasing in the post.
Teasing my model there, were you, Matthew?
Yep, teasing your model. So now people are saying that your volume's a little bit low. So
Volume's a little low. I can just go in the settings and turn it up a little bit.
yeah, we might want to boost it there a little bit.
Is that better? That's as
I
high
guess
as it will go.
I guess they'll let us know here in a minute.
Yeah, I mean that's as high as it will go. So I have to be on the headset, otherwise you'll get the bleed through from the TV through the mic, and then it will just ruin everything. So,
All right. Well, we'll see how that goes.
Hopefully that's okay.
Now, this is a good question. Elizabeth Matheson, can you tell what direction the supersonic shot came from?
Yes, to an extent, because the Mac cone is directional. If one heard it and one didn't, then you can say it's closer to that mic. And if you've got a line of mics that heard it and a few other mics that didn't, then you can place the Mac cone and say, okay, the bullet was breaking the speed of sound in this area. That makes sense. So the best way to explain it with audio is if you stood in the courtyard and somebody, I don't know, shouted off the roof, you know it's over there, but you don't know exactly until you turn around and look. And it's sort of much like that. You're never going to say it's exactly there, but you can say it's about there.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So before you show your model and show your presentation, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Dun, dun, dun.
So the official was, what was it, 143 yards or something similar?
Something like that, yeah.
So some people, and I believe including yourself, puts the distance estimates at this point within 50 meters. Would you agree with that?
I'd say maybe 44. So the way I worked it out, it's a good one, because originally when I started, again, knowing nothing about guns, I'm just a little English dude that's never fired a gun in his life, you know. So didn't really know much about it. So through a lot of research, of just reading, asking ChatGPT, Grok, reading different essays online, I realized that we can't actually see the impact from the bullet because it's synced with the FPS of the video. You know, it runs a lot slower video than it does to audio. So what I did is I waited for Charlie's reaction, and then I subtracted a body time, shall we say, of a reaction time for his body, so 120 to 200 milliseconds. And then I used that in my equations to place the impact. To then
So for that 120 seconds, so you're saying that's the time for the body to react to the hit?
Yeah, so if the projectile's long through him, I mean, I hate to be so gory about it, but it's gone past him by the time he's reacted. It's already out the other side. It's already gone. It should be anyway, you know. And video's pretty slow, so it's probably halfway between one frame and another frame.
Yeah.
So I just say, okay, this is where his body started to react. Minus 120 milliseconds to 200 milliseconds. That's the reaction time of the nervous system and all of that. That gives me an estimate to be able to place a window of opportunity. And it's in my essay. I will share my essay with you, Matt, if you want to put it in the comments later.
Okay. And then we have a question. With the model, can you do a line of sight for the camera above Kirk? So
I don't know what you mean.
The camera behind him. We can look at that after you show your model. So we'll come back to that one.
Oh, right. Do you mean that the shot came from the camera?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the shot coming from the camera. So I'm gonna dispel the shot coming from the camera, and I'm gonna same with the exploding mic. If if any sound came from that location and moved outwards, then I would measure that. It would start in the center, and it doesn't. No, that's you can't fake that in the audio. It starts somewhere else, travels across the courtyard.
Okay, so just to clarify for the audience, you're saying that the exploding microphone and a shot from behind him, like from the camera or something.
From the camera behind him, yeah, because the noise would emanate from there. And like, if you stood one end of the courtyard and fired exactly the same time, the gun the other end of the courtyard, or the sound the other end of the courtyard, is going to create its own reflections based on the geometry of where it's standing, and where the other one's going to create its own reflections where it's standing. And I'm going to measure both, and then I'm going to say, hang about, these aren't lining up. That means there's two sound sources, and that helps.
All right, so we have this question here from John Murphy. Do you detect two shots nearly synchronized, first big and second small? So in other words, was there another shot that happened along with the rifle shot or the supersonic shot?
I haven't detected that. No, I haven't measured that. No. You know, you'd think with all the phones, you know, in a big array all the way around in a semicircle, that somebody would have heard something somewhere. And I haven't. I mean, I've got more to test. So, I mean, you know, it's a little bit inconclusive to answer that one, but so far I haven't measured it.
All right, and then we have one here from Jordan Hinshaw. And Jordan has also been contacting me and sending me a lot of good information as well. He also did his own version of a 3D model, still working on it.
Yeah.
But he says, have any shooting positions been ruled out by whether supersonic crack is heard due to directionality of Mach cone? So that kind of goes into your secret project. So
yeah, it's not yet. I haven't got very. So I'll tease it now if you like. I'll show you the model. Like I'm still very early stages with this, so it's not finalized. I need to double check everything, but I'll explain what I'm doing next and why the crack to bang was important for me to mark as either a reflection or a thump.
So now, before we show this, he hasn't shown this to anyone else.
Nope.
So this is the first time he's showing this. He hasn't even shown it on his channel. And then the other part is it's not done yet.
Yeah, it's still early days.
Correct.
Let me minimize, and sorry about the state of my desktop. Dun, dun, dun. So let me turn a few things off and we'll work our way through it real quick.
All right, are you ready for me to add it to the stage?
Yeah, I'm sharing screen now. Yeah, I think I am anyway.
All right, go for it.
Turn a few of these bits off and we'll just go. So, I started on this location here. The idea is I'm going to go through 4 locations. One on the low C, one in the middle of this building, courtesy of Dr. Martinson, and one behind this tunnel, courtesy of Jason Goodman, one on this roof, in this corner, shall we say. Maybe there's going to be a big difference if you stand on this roof as if you stand on this back corner, and the echoes are going to tell a story. They're going to paint a picture. So if you stood on this white building here, now this is where I started, so don't take this as like this is what happened, right? So if you stood on this corner here and you fired a gun, the direct sound of that gun is going to travel and you're going to hear it on this microphone, if that makes sense. That's the first sound. Now, we spoke a little bit about early reflections, didn't we? And the idea is that if wherever you stand, that the early reflections are also going to follow just behind the direct sound, because they're moving at the speed of sound. They're not going to be far behind. And I can measure using the early reflections. Let me just turn them on really quickly. I can measure using the early reflections. So from this point here, okay, I can't draw diagonal lines on Google Earth, so we'll have to make do with them being, horizontal. But what I'm doing is I am selecting a surface, and I'm not doing it randomly. I am actually using the frequency content of the reflection to see if the surface is big enough to be able to reflect it before I select it. So this one here it's actually got some notes on it. Oh no, what have I done?
So just
yeah, go on.
Let me know if you hear. Is anyone else hearing an echo of my voice? If not, I'll just continue on. I'm not sure why I'm hearing an echo. You don't hear an echo?
No.
Okay, I'll just go on then. So basically what you're saying is in your project is that you're not only mapping distances, which a lot of people are doing, but you're also mapping the reflections.
Yeah, so if I could move that out of the way, and then let's have a look at some of these. So this is the data, right? So if we go to the right microphone, front right, 45 meters from Charlie's location. I measured it straight out the audio. What one's this? Back 7, front 15, 45. So I've literally gone into this audio, zoom out a bit. You can see that I've labeled it up. You've got the thump, the repeat of the thump. You've got early reflection 1, late reflections. You've got the main reflection. You've got the second main reflection, and a third one just in case any of them are obscured. So I can measure off of each of them. And what I'm doing is I'm measuring from the start to the thump, shall we say. And my program down the bottom of the screen there tells me that's 108 milliseconds. I can then calculate that as a distance. But then if I then take over here, I've got these into different frequency bands off of the same source. So we've got the really high trebles, so you can see that, if I zoom in a bit, you can see that that is part of the thump. You know, it's part of the sounds that is, and it's going through all of the frequencies. So that tells me that it is something to be measured, shall we say, and it's not random noise as long as I can place it on the map. So with them measurements and the frequency content, oh, it should have stayed in here, I've then mapped out each and every, to the millisecond, each and every reflection in their frequency bands. And then I can say, okay, I know that a wave of 40 hertz is 8.5 meters long, and it's about 4.3 meters wide, I believe. So I can say, okay, if the surface is less than 4.3 meters wide, then it's not going to be able to reflect a bass wave at 40 hertz. It's just not possible. The bass wave would just travel straight through it, or around it, or over it. It will just engulf the whole thing. So that's how I know that these pergolas down here aren't producing any bass. They're not reflecting any bass. So I can quite confidently say from this location I can map some early reflections from these surfaces.
So I think from your screen share, that's what's causing the echo for me. So anytime I talk, I have to pull your screen share down for a second. But we do have a question.
Okay.
The question was, how do you determine what's a reflection or regression? Like, how do you actually determine from the audio what's a reflection and what's not?
That's actually pretty simple. I mean, because it's a timeline, isn't it? So from left to right, it is literally the time of what happened. So we'll just go to the one that we had open a minute ago because it's easier to see. But that is the instance. That is the sound that happened. That is the next sound that happens. Whether you call it a thump, whether you call it a reflection, is kind of irrelevant to me anyway. And you can hear there's another little click. There's one in there. There's another one there. And again, I've gone through frequency by frequency. So as you go down the frequency, you can see that around 1 kilohertz, it's quite predominant there. But you start going up to 10, it's really minute. You start going down to 40 and you can't see it at all. You know, but there is a reflection there.
So part of the way that you've separated it out, because someone said, what was the question? Let's see. How do we separate the so-called echo from, let's say, background noise from area, like the area of the people that are around and that kind of stuff? And I think you are one of the few people who's actually broken it down by the frequency, correct?
Yeah, no, nobody's ever done what I'm doing. So, they have done what I'm doing. This is textbook audio forensics that they would use in a courtroom. You know, they'd break it down. They'd have it all lined out. The bit that nobody has done is the TDOA stuff, but we'll get to that shortly, I think. But yeah, I mean, essentially, I know the thump happens there because it's through every frequency band. I can listen to it on one band, I can clarify it on another, yeah, you do get the background noise of the crowd. You're gonna get that, and it's essentially it's about listening to the it's sort of like a white noise, so to speak. It's a it's a reflection. It's not really anything. It's not nothing. It's nothing direct. There's a different sound signature that it has, and after years of work and studying as audio engineer, you kind of build these spaces using reverbs and delays anyway. So it's much the same. You can just hear the difference. You can hear the crowd, and you can hear a little click behind them, and you can say, okay, that's a reflection from somewhere. It just gives me a ruler, somewhere to put a ruler, and it either works out or it doesn't, and I move on if it doesn't. And does that answer the question?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amanda J, for the super chat. Yeah, I mean, this auto breakdown, I've seen several others, and I saw the other Matt. I don't remember his last name. Was it Kessler or something like that?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But he, I don't think it was broken down by frequency, and I think that can
No.
make a huge difference.
Oh, it does make a huge difference. I could play the thump. It needs to be turned on. Of course, it does.
We had a quick question here from Smar K71.
Yeah.
Says, has he taken all the speakers positioned around into account? Did you want to show your project again to show which speakers you're working with?
So I have more microphones than these, but these are where the microphones are. We've got one to the back right of Charlie, one at the front. The new one that I did on my newest video, where I break down the stereo field and show that the reflection or the knock that comes after the initial transient comes from a different direction to the source. Whether it's here, there, it doesn't matter. It's just a different direction. But for me, that's why I'm going to treat the thump as a reflection. That's enough. So from there, we plot in reflection 1 and reflection 2. These are lower frequencies, and they're much stronger than the earlier reflections. And I can put them to a distance. I can say, okay, the bass came from there, and we sanity check that with the really, really lows. And if it goes the same direction, then we know that it's pretty conclusive that a shot could have been fired from up there, and the echoes will relate. They will work. Is that good? Is everybody still there? I don't know. I can't see.
Now, just to be clear, you have not modeled the official FBI position yet,
Not
correct?
yet. No. Yeah, I will do. I mean, something you've got to consider is if you're sitting here, how are you going to create this reflection? How are you going to create that reflection? It's pretty open here, isn't it? You're going to maybe get one here, probably one off the floor, one off this building, one off of here. But are they going to be at the right times to be picked up by this mic? That's the question. I don't know the answer yet. So it's sort of like a little bit of a mystery for me as well.
So now this is an ongoing project that he's working on. So make sure you go over to his channel and make sure you follow him over at AudioFreq's, and he'll be putting out small digestible pieces as he's working on it, and eventually he'll come to some conclusion.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have a super chat from Official Shot of Iran. Having analyzed this from POV, that shot is a triggered sound sampled projected from a PA system.
Yeah, there's no way. The PA system, I get this question quite a lot. Now, you have to understand the technology of a speaker and how much air a speaker can move in the environment. Now, a small 12-inch speaker is not going to be able to move 40, it's not going to be able to sustain a 40 hertz wave. It will be able to touch on it, but it won't be able to hold it very, very long, or won't be able to do it very well. Natural sound is much more predominant and much more natural. I don't know how to explain it. So it's much more alive, whereas the speaker sounds mechanical and it's directional. I can pinpoint the speaker because it's facing a certain direction, and I can measure that. Whereas natural sound will engulf everything. It will travel, over everything. And the bass wave, again, you can't make the 40 kilohertz bass wave, 40 hertz bass wave on a small speaker. They're designed for vocals. They're not designed for. I mean, they might be good for a bit of music here and there, but if you go to a professional event, then you'll have big 18-inch, 21-inch bass bins, and they'll be moving the atmosphere. They won't be moving just a little bit of sound. The whole lot would have to vibrate, and you can't fake that.
And you also mentioned too, when we talked before this, didn't you say that the speakers were too small as well?
Yeah, that's basically what I was touching on there. They're too small. You might be able to rub against 40 hertz, but you will never be able to recreate it sufficiently. And obviously, natural sound, you're going to get right down real low, lower than you can hear. Which obviously I'm picking up in the recordings anyway. The microphone might struggle on some recordings, and you can definitely see that in some of the audio, that the microphone is struggling in some recordings because of the automatic gain control that I mentioned. As soon as that shot went off, it turned the gain down, so everything else is at a lower level, and you can see that in some of the audio. You see,
Now,
this one here is quite pronounced, isn't it? Whereas let me shut these up. You come to some of these other ones, like you can see that it's shut down the audio there, isn't it? It's a lot quieter there than it is here. And that's because of the automatic gain control that we discussed earlier.
which again does not affect position. It just affects the volume.
No, yeah, it affects the volume. Yeah, the you could say that it arguably shifts the waveform because of the limitation on it. It's cutting the spike off the top, and it obviously, if you cut the spike off
Vertically.
the top, it widens the way it presents as a visual. But the transient's still going to be where it is. It's still recorded into the audio, and you can use frequency to obviously disseminate from that.
All right, so we have Elizabeth Matheson again. She says, so you're saying like 44 meters, so that's approximately 144 feet, so like 50 yards approximately?
Right, yeah, I'm not very. I'm English. Everything's in meters over here. So when
There's
it
too
comes,
much math involved in that question.
that's too much, much too much. To convert to feet, I don't know, what is it, about 3 foot per meter or something, something like that. But just as a little teaser, I have started doing another one as well with the reflections, and they do work out to this location at the moment. That doesn't mean that it's not going to work out from here or over there or wherever, but it's just at the moment.
All right, so I'm going to mute myself so I don't echo. But can you say that again? Are you able to zoom in?
Yeah.
Okay, so give me 1 second. I'll show you to the stage so I don't echo.
Okay. So this is another location. Let me just turn the other one off. Be easier. This is another one that I have. It's the same. It's the I'm coming from this location to begin with, and I'll test it with all mics. Then I'll come over here and I'll see whether the reflections work out or not. And then I'll come up here and do the same, and I'll come back down here and do the same. But for this mic here, I can place the reflections, as you can see on these lines. One's coming off here, the other one's coming off of all of this back bit here. I think that's a really low one, that one. That whole surface is like quite large, so the mass is pushing it back up here to this mic. And then if we come round to this side, we can see that it works out by the meter or the feet to this location here and comes back to the mic. Same here. It actually works out that it's reflecting from the loci center and coming back down to this mic. So it does work out with the reflection timings. And these pink ones are what people are calling crack to thump. And if I go up here, we can see how I've positioned them. Now, if again, just hypothetically, if a guy was standing there, the thump is reflecting off of these locations here and then hitting the mic. Now, whether that's a a thump or a reflection, again, is irrelevant to my test, but that's why it's a different color, so obviously I can keep track of that. But yeah, from this location here, it works out from this side, and it works out from this mic here. These are the first two that I used in my TDOA analysis. I didn't actually anticipate on going too far into the TDOA stuff, but the TDOA stuff is time difference of arrival. So it's exactly the same way radar and sonar works. They send out a signal, it reflects back, and they measure the difference. And that's pretty much it. It's not too hard, but it's never really been done in the way that I've done it, and that is to use multiple phone devices as an array to then say, okay, so we've got a guy standing over here. I might actually have a marker.
So not only are you using the array, but you're also using the stereo field within that,
Yeah, I'm doing pretty advanced stuff, I suppose.
and the frequencies within that.
Yeah,
So yeah.
It will all come, everything will all pile together, and overlay, and then we can say this is the most likely scenario with the audio. I'm not trying to locate a shooter. I'm not trying to locate anything. I'm not trying to play into one side or any, one. It doesn't matter. It's just, do the echoes work?
Yeah.
If they work, then it's viable. If they don't work, then there's no chance in hell. 'Cause
So it helps
you
rule.
can't fake it,
Yeah, so it helps rule out positions. It doesn't necessarily give you the exact spot.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah. So it'll give you a most likely scenario. So with this long left 75-meter mic, what I did is, it's a stereo recording, so you have a left and a right microphone on the phone, and then whether they're top and bottom, whether they're left and right, that's to be determined. What I did is I took the time difference from the left and the right microphone, the angle at which the phone was pointing towards Charlie Kirk's location. It's in one of my videos. And then I turned it into a bearing, and to point, and it points over here to this building here. And I did the same with a microphone down here that was in a portrait position, so it's like, held vertically. And being an iPhone, I think it's an iPhone 13, the microphones were top and bottom. That means I can determine whether the sound came from above or below, and it came from above according to that mic pair. And I do have another one that's given me the same results. In fact, I've got another two that are giving me the same results from here. The audio came from above, unquestionably from an audio perspective. So the TDOA stuff, yeah, it's really good because you can point with it. You can say it came from above. You can say, okay, if this phone was facing, direct north, I can then calculate that as a bearing, as a degree from 360 degrees, and say the audio hit the phone from that direction. It's pretty clever.
Okay, so we did have one question here.
That's why I
Let me
thought
find
I'd
it.
stop. I thought I'd break because
So,
I tend to nerd out, Matt.
well, there's nothing wrong with nerding out. That's why we're doing this, right? So Mr.
Yeah.
Turpin says, and also I think Jordan Hinshaw was asking something similar. Can the Doppler effect be used, or is it too short of a distance?
Doppler effect. That's exactly what people are measuring with the crack to bang. We're using the Doppler effect. The Doppler effect can play obviously tricks, but you can measure it. So it's not really affecting me at the moment. Anyway, I haven't tripped up over it, at least.
All right, let's see. So Q Pete says, aren't echoes and reflections slower as a direct sound wave? I mean, standing in front of Charlie, the direct sound wave hits my ear first.
Yeah. So if you take this red line, I mean, maybe if I zoom in a bit more, the red line is the direct sound coming from that location and hitting the microphone. Then all the green lines are the early reflections that are bouncing off all of these locations and heading to the microphone. The late reflections, or the later reflections, you work out from the microphone and back. So they're not coming from the source. And then if your meter measurements work out to here, you can say that that is a strong case anyway. It's not conclusive yet. You have to overlay lots of data to get there. But yeah, I haven't tripped over the Doppler effect, and the direct sound will hit you first, definitely, and then everything that follows, you can measure and build a pretty good picture with.
So we have a question from Northern Thai Garden Guy.
Yep.
Is it possible to determine the trajectory with TDOA and the formula using the reflections? If
Yes and
so,
no.
what
Sorry,
was that?
I also got yes and no.
Okay. It says, if so, do you need more mic recordings to do it, or do you have enough data? Now, I don't think people know, but you have like more than 40, don't you?
Yeah, I've got. I don't know. I don't know how many. I've got like 20 or 40 different like recordings all downloaded and cut from the internet, and there's more coming out as time goes on. So like that front right 25-meter mic from Charlie's location. That was a new one that I hadn't done before, and I used the stereo field on that one. That was. Do I have it open? Yeah. So if you look, I've measured the left and the right speaker microphone. Sorry, for the main event, we call it the event, the shot, the first instance of sound, and you can see that the left is leading slightly. You go to the don't do that. If you go to the knock or the later event, about a third of a second later, you can see the blue is actually ahead of the yellow, which proves that the later reflection was a reflection to my standards. Now, that's just because it came from a different direction. You'd expect it if it came from, the same place, then you'd have a similar sort of vibe, shall we say, on the charts. Does that help?
Yep. And then we have a question from Jordan Hinshaw. Has he tried using the speaker tuning software that visually simulates 3D sound waves and their reflections?
Oh no, I haven't, but I'd love to know what that's called.
Yeah, Jordan, can you let us know what that's called down in the, or you
Yeah,
either email me or put it down in the comments, please?
yeah. I'd love to know what that's called because I have obviously fantasized about being able to maybe use Blender, build and put a model in there, and then have it irradiate out. But then I looked at Blender and I thought that's going to take me 2 years to learn that.
Maybe, maybe you, Jordan, and Pete could get together and figure something out because,
Yeah, definitely. If
yeah,
they're up for it, yeah.
we'll,
I mean,
we'll see if we can make that happen offline.
more than up for it. You know, there is a couple of models kicking about. You've got one, haven't you? I think Paramount Tactical had another. I don't know, but I haven't used them because again, I'm not a 3D artist. I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to all of that. I'm a bit of an audio nerd, not a video nerd.
Well, so like Paramount Tactical went all out. So they
Did it?
did a LiDAR scan using their drone. They're paying, tens of thousands of dollars, it sounds like, to have professional modelers set everything up, and they're
Wow.
putting the tent there. They have shooters in place and that kind of thing, kind of like what Pete already did. But the model resolution and that kind of stuff basically looks real life. I believe they also have the tunnel, but
Wow.
it's something he's trying to make available to everyone, and also maybe be an app on his website that you can kind
Yeah, that
of
would be super cool.
kind of
I
go
mean,
through.
yeah, I'd need help with that. I couldn't. I mean, I could obviously explain what the sound's doing from my perspective, but being able to put it down on an actual, graphics program is probably where I'd have to draw a line. It would probably take me too long to learn.
Someone's just commenting on the light tablet behind you. It says giving him a seizure.
Oh, so that's yeah, it's the launch pad. There we go.
Use that for music, right?
Yeah. So you push a button and it triggers something. That's all. Or you can record and whatever with it. I've got two of them.
Dally Jacobson, you can email me directly. My email's down in the description, and it's also in the channel description. All right. So as far as the presentation and his project that he has set up, that's basically what we have for this stream. So if you want, we can continue doing questions. Otherwise, we can call it there unless you have anything else you want to share, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I mean, I mean, this is all the reflection stuff that I'm working on. I mean, I have an essay if anybody's interested in like the maths and the science behind what I'm doing. If anybody wants to read it, it does go down to point out. I mean, I just rebuild a basic format of just, you know, mapping the space and the reflections and where they could have came from. And then we come all the way to the bottom. I draw a picture, and this is the circle here, and the circle there is the 120 milliseconds to the 200 milliseconds. And the angle is using the TDOA stuff to say that the sound is traveling this way. It's coming from open end to the closed end. It's a little bit hard to read, but yeah. And that's between the mic here and the mic here. They're the two that I did the test on to begin with anyway. I've got two more here to do. I also created a hyperbola as well, and shoot that on a video if anybody's interested. I mean, my videos are a bit dry and a bit dorky, so I mean, not everybody's going to want to see them, you know. But like, they are what they are. I'm not trying to be entertaining or the next hot take. I'm just trying to explain this and provide a new system for civilian audio forensics, so we can analyze this stuff, and everybody can more than welcome to recreate what I've done, and everything's recreatable and testable. Oh, I'm repeating there. That's right. Yeah, it's showing me.
All right, so let's make sure this is the AudioFreq's channel. I know there's more than one. I believe one has some underscores or something in it, but this is his channel. So if you see this little character, that's actually him, I believe, created by ChatGPT or some other AI. So look for this guy here, AudioFreq's. Make sure you guys go over there and subscribe. And again, you know, he's at 779 subscribers. We're trying to get him to 1,000. So let's show him some love and go over there and make sure that he knows that you guys appreciate what he's doing out here. And I think what we'll do, I think I muted you, Matt. There we go.
Yeah, I didn't want to carry on talking. Sorry, I tend to do that.
All right, let's see if we have any other questions.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. Trying to be hit by the gunshot. Okay, so Northern Thai Garden guy. Is there any latency in the video of Charlie being hit and the gunshot sound we all hear across all the mics recorded that day? Or is it pretty clear that we hear the shot at the same time he is hit?
He's hit at the same time as the shot. I mean, I put it within about, I think it was 21 milliseconds altogether. It's pretty instantaneous. You're hearing the boom of the gun, and again, I've got it down in the 40 hertz region, so it is something supersonic happening. And then he's hit almost instantly, you know.
All right, and then we have GG Gigir Thoy. I suck at this. All right, anyway, has Matt evaluated the other three positions?
Not yet. No, I've only just started doing that one position. I just picked one randomly. There was no reason for it, but I will be getting onto that obviously and breaking each position down. I'll try and do it in bite-sized chunks like I've been doing.
Now, can you see that question?
Why not test the FBI narrative? I will do. Definitely. I mean, when it comes to 30-06, I mean, you're better off talking to Matt about bullets and stuff. I have no idea. I can only program in what I'm told. I don't know enough about guns and ballistics to really add anything of, you know, substance.
Yeah, so Vladimir, if there's something very specific that you want him to look at or want me to look at, go ahead and email me. And I'll make sure he gets that, or I can answer that for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, happy to look at anything. If anybody has better data or better numbers or anything like that, happy to rerun them. It doesn't, you know, it's no skin off my nose.
So we have West Rerude. If you could make an audio sensor to help with this problem in the future, what would it be?
What do you mean, an audio sensor?
Are you speaking about so he doesn't have to do the modeling?
Oh, you mean like some sort of scanner that you could have? Is that what he means?
I don't know if you want to give us some more clarity on that one. We can answer that one.
Well, if I'm right, and he's talking about if I could create technology to do this, then sure. You've already got LiDAR. I mean, all you'd need is to set up I don't know, like a dumpy level that you see on a building site, you know, like a laser level. Set up something in the middle that just literally laser beams the whole lot, measures the distance to every location, maps the area, then you drop the sound files in and it will plot it for you. I mean, AI could probably do that with Python.
Yeah, I think that's something that Pete was looking at as well was a Python script for that.
Yeah. I mean, you could see that. I think Jason Goodman brought up one, a shock spotter or shot spotter or something like that.
Shot spotter, yeah.
Yeah, so that's very much the similar sort of thing. It's very much a similar sort of thing. I'm essentially using that technology, but in basic format.
So we have Jan Mans, and at least one recording the audio preceded the video, which is only possible due to longer video optical processing latency than audio, which is common, like 60 millisecond latency difference.
Yeah, it could be 21 milliseconds latency difference. There could, yeah, that was what I think what I was touching on at the beginning about the you press record, the sound starts, then the video starts a little, just to get it in sync. So one's rolling and then the other one joins.
So Wes for Reed says he's talking about an array.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm using the phones as an array. So it's basically the multiple recordings is that's what I'm using to track it down.
PA speakers amplifying, that is what is shown is in the repeat of the blast.
No, I showed that earlier. I can tell you we have I think it's 2.8 no, is it 2.8 milliseconds of reamplification time. So
you want to explain reamplification?
Yeah, so it's basically like it's a technique that we use in audio engineering. So you'd play a sound through your speaker, and you'd stick a microphone up against it, or at the end of the room, or wherever in the room, if you want to create a bit of distance on that sound, then you'll re-record it. So it's about the time that it takes to go through the amplifier out the speaker, through the microphone, through the amplifier, out the speaker. So it could take 10 milliseconds. If you've got a mixing desk there and you've got 20 meters of cable, you could push that up to 50 milliseconds. It can delay stuff, definitely.
We have this question here from CT Live. So is it conclusive that the sound occurred before impact?
So depending on your recording, because some obviously are further away, so you're going to see the impact, then hear the sound. Some are closer, so it just depends on where they're standing, really. I mean, at the moment, I've just taken the instance of the sound and then measured from the end backwards. That's what I'm working towards. But as it goes to the impact, I mean, that's kind of a visual thing, so it kind of falls out the scope of audio. But it's definitely an important point. And again, it comes back down to crack the thump. I mean, it's how can you work out crack the thump if you don't include the impact? That's like a third of the equation. It's part of it. You have to include the impact in there. You can't say it was 500 meters away, but he was hit instantly, because you take the impact into consideration and the whole thing collapses.
All right, then we have this one here. I'll let you read that one.
So to reiterate, within 150, 45 meters, that's better, but farther than 2 to 3 meters, the supersonic is hit at the near same time as the sound shot. Yeah, I mean, he's hitting pretty much not instantly. There is a slight gap, 4 milliseconds or something, or whatever it is. And then I've subtracted 120 milliseconds off of that to give us an impact time.
So now they're asking if the echo could be from the tunnel. And I know that when we spoke before, you said that you had to get some more videos from the tunnel.
Yeah,
correct?
I'd love a video from behind the tunnel or in the tunnel. Anyone recording around that time, anywhere near that tunnel.
So if everyone that's watching, if you have any footage, like even the people that were kind of huddled down behind the car and stuff in the tunnel, but you actually need the gunshot from the tunnel, correct?
Yeah, I mean, anywhere around that tunnel. I mean, we've got some in front, but there's so much commotion out there. It would be great to get one from behind that just heard it in the distance, and then I'll be able to corroborate Jason's evidence. I'll be able to say whether the sound backs it up or not. Obviously, he's been gracious enough to let me on his show. It's the least I can do for the man.
All right, well, it looks like we have no new questions coming in. Matt, we definitely appreciate you coming on.
No, and hopefully I've done well enough. I mean, I'm not used to all of this.
Well, I definitely look for. I mean, for people who don't know, it's what about midnight?
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't even know what time it is at the moment. Or is it 1:04 a.m.?
Yeah, so he's middle of the night over there.
Yeah, I stayed up just for you guys.
We appreciate that. And again, make sure you go over, like, and subscribe. Let's get him over 1,000 subs so he can actually start getting paid for his work. And we appreciate everyone being here. And Matt, we'll definitely have to have you back on once you get your project finished.
Yeah, I'll be up for that.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.